Happy Saturday, everybody. I hope everybody is having a pretty good day. It's the weekend, so I hope most people are off and able to enjoy time doing whatever, whether that's perusing through the internet or enjoying time with your family or catching up around your house. I hope everybody has had a pretty good day. My day so far has been pretty boring, but here we are. So I kind of put out a tweet, which has led to this live. I woke up this morning to a whole bunch of people referring to and, taking screenshots and sending, putting up like quote tweeting, retweeting of Katie's Twitter yesterday. I went to bed relatively early for me last night because I've been dealing with a pressure headache. If you suffer from any kind of serious migraines or anything like that, I feel like when the weather starts to seriously shift, you typically go through a phase where you're adjusting. And I seem to have been going through that this last week. I've had a couple of pretty severe headache days, but not to the level of a migraine. So I went to bed relatively early and woke up to all of these quote tweets and everything. So I went and I looked at the page and I figured I'm not sure what enticed this Twitter talk from Katie. I didn't read all of them. I just kind of went to her page and started reading some of them, and I figured we can go ahead and go through some of this. Sorry if I'm looking over to the side. I have her tweets pulled up on a different screen over here, and we'll be viewing these from my crafting Twitter because my personal Twitter is blocked, which is not a big deal. Let's see here. I do want to see who all is here and say hi to everybody. So I'm just going to get to the chat really quick. Hey, Lisa. Hey, Leanne. Hey, Bob and Carrie, cleaning the house while listening. Hey, Sarah, totally clueless. You're babysitting twin nephews. Hey, Suzanne. Hey, Kathy. Hey, Sunny D. Celine Adams. Seems like today's kind of like a chore day for a lot of people, and I understand that. Hey, JJ, good to see you. Hey, Tina. Hey, Miss Vieira. She just tweeted again blaming Saltsy. Oh, my goodness. Hey, Billy Ann. Hey, Tamara. Hey, TV shows. I always get yours confused for some reason. Three Mama, Overkill, Trixie. It's good to see that you guys are all here. I appreciate everybody who's watching today. You have an assumption it had to do with the Lori Ann interview. I would assume so. I've kind of had opinions about the interview and everything that was said in the interview. Maybe we'll talk about that once we get through her tweets. I don't know. We'll see how the conversation goes. Hey, Bo. Hey, Jen. Good to see you. Dane's Addiction. Hello. Dinner's ready. Feeling the love. Pippi. Good to see you, Pippi. Painting your nails. That's something I still haven't filmed yet. I'm hoping to film it this evening. Your diamond painting. Yeah, I agree. So I'm probably not going to see much of the chat while I'm sharing the Twitter stuff. So, hey, April, please be on your best behavior. Nobody, if you guys have a disagreement, whether it's with each other here or about the topic or elsewhere, please just be adults, remain civil, because the StreamYard chat doesn't show everything that the YouTube chat does. So, all right. Here is Miss Katie Joy's Twitter. So I'm not exactly sure when these started, and I'm afraid to refresh my page in case she has deleted anything. So I'm just going to go through for what it was, and then we'll refresh it. So I guess I will try to go back 21 hours ago for me was 1 a.m. A little bit before 1 a.m. 1 a.m. was 24 hours ago, so still pretty late. Let's see where. I think this is where it starts, where I started to see people. I'm not going to cover the Suzanne Tittemeyer stuff. Suzanne has her own channel and has recently addressed all of this stuff. So if you're interested in these kind of tweets that Katie's just trying to push a narrative, continue to talking bad about somebody who has given her criticism, go check out Suzanne's YouTube channel. I'll be sure to link it in the description for any of my mods if you're here. If you could go and pull Suzanne's channel and put it in so people can see anything related to that if they're interested. So I guess it starts probably here with the extortion and coercion, learning a lot about it today and looking into criminal charges. So I would imagine, as many people were saying in the chat, this maybe was in response to the interview that LB had with Lori Ann on her channel, because a lot of things that were said in that interview were opposed from what she has signed declarations for, opposed from what people have actual screenshots for. And again, I'm not really wanting to get into the interview itself here, but I would agree, seeming that this was the first tweet kind of leading into this series of long tweets throughout the day and the night, that this is maybe what had triggered it. She says a report was made with the Minnesota FBI. I don't understand, and this is no shade to just Katie. This is to anybody. I don't really understand why people who are receiving threats and things like that, why they feel they have to talk about it. Yeah, it's scary and everything, but I personally don't understand the point that it has to bring it to your audience and let your audience worry about you. In my opinion, if you're getting threats and things like that, you should be sending it to the appropriate authorities rather than bringing it to any kind of social media, whether that's before you contact the authorities or afterwards. I just don't understand why people, and this is historically, I mean, we've seen a lot of it going on in suit with the lawsuit that was going on with Without a Crystal Ball, but I just don't understand why anyone ever is like, yeah, I'm getting threats, because it doesn't help the situation. If anything, I think it's making their subscribers and the people who really care about them worry about them, knowing that they're getting that. And if they start to defend them publicly because they have announced it to everybody, and they start to publicly defend them and call out people who they may be assuming or expecting to be whoever may be behind it, then they start receiving it. It's like a trickle effect that I think if you're receiving threats or anything like that, personally, I'd advise to just go to your authorities, go to whoever you need to inform of what's going on, and not talk about it online, because it doesn't do anything but make people worry about you. And then the next tweet that we get is, there's no conspiracy against Lori by anyone, FYI, please stop giving this woman a platform. I mean, I don't know where the conspiracy is. Maybe it's based off of how Lori was talking. I don't really understand what she's meaning by this tweet, that there's not a conspiracy against her. I don't think anybody tried to say that there was a conspiracy against her, unless I missed something, which I could have easily missed something, but I'm just curious I'm going to come back to the chat. What is this conspiracy that she's referring to? Does anybody know? Just trying to see, because I don't know. Wouldn't be the first thing any law enforcement would tell you, especially the FBI, is not to post it on any social media platforms. Oh, she later does go and start talking. I know in these tweets coming up that she starts talking about Emily D. Baker and salts. So is that what she's referring to in this tweet, that the conspiracy that Lori's involved with or pushing is the conspiracy that Katie starts to put out later, that they were in cahoots and stuff. I don't know. That was confusing. Giving her a platform, I mean, that's any creator's decision to give her a platform. Personally, I mean, I understand why LB and other people are saying that they would have taken the interview, because it is good for publicity. It really is. And if you're trying to grow your channel, you are going to get more people interested who maybe didn't care about your content before, or didn't even know who you were before, but heard about this lawsuit. So they hear somebody who is involved is going to be interviewed. They're likely to come to your channel. It is a good move as far as that goes. And I'm not saying that that's LB's motive behind it. I just think when you're interviewing somebody that has that many controversies, it would have been helpful if, I understand LB has said that there was an outline, but I think she should have specifically been prepared a little bit better around the kind of deception that Lori-Ann was putting out. I don't think that's LB's fault, and I'm not saying she did a bad job, but I don't think in viewing it, either party was fully prepared. I think Lori-Ann went into the interview with the intention to do what she did, and I think LB was giving her the benefit of the doubt and didn't assume it to go the way it did, and wasn't really prepared on how to fully bring her back in. And if you've not set up the scenario that that kind of stuff is going to happen on a live interview, you're kind of stuck dead in the water. And that's no offense to her. It's just the perception that I got. So I don't think it's fair for Katie or anybody to really judge LB for hosting the interview. I don't think that that's very fair. That's just my personal opinion. The next tweets that we get, I don't know what this is in reference to, this YouTube video. I'm not going to click on it. Then she says, I've received confirmation from a reporter. This is where it starts to get super interesting from what I was looking at this morning. I received confirmation from a reporter at Business Insider that Michael Saltz directed them to watch a legal YouTuber for the source on the lawsuit. A few days later, Emily Baker went live with the information. We repeatedly requested to give her our side, and she never responded. That's pretty contradictory from what she was saying during the lawsuit. She was also cutting down Emily in her career, as well as Saltz. She was throwing low blows constantly about her not knowing what she was talking about. And she was constantly being nasty towards Emily. And to be quite frank, if I remember correctly, there were other channels, maybe not lawyer styled channels, that were also covering this before Emily did. And there's a few channels, and I'm not going to say them just in case somebody's watching me to like try and stir shit, but there's been at least 2 other channels that I know of who have consistently maintained covering the lawsuit and covering Katie Joy's antics. And as far as I know, Emily stopped discussing this lawsuit and Katie Joy when the lawsuit was dismissed. So why Katie is bringing all of this up is clearly a tactic for her to remain being talked about, because that's kind of what I've seen her to do historically. She said that the reported note, the days that Emily pinned the tweet, I think this in here, yeah, she shows this. She includes this little screenshot of a message, which doesn't show who it's from. We just have to take her word at this point. And I think Katie should realize she has so many critics that nobody's going to believe her just based off of her saying something. I mean, that may suck for her, but she's kind of set herself up for people to not believe what she says. And this is saying that this is trying to be the proof that Emily D. Baker and Saltz had planned to have Emily discuss the lawsuit. And I think as Katie continues to go on in these tweets, she's trying to align it with the fact that they set Katie up, but Emily never really made Katie out to be like this terrible person. She talked about a lot of different situations hypothetically from what I remember. And I also keep in mind, if for those who maybe are new to my channel about this, I didn't follow the lawsuit after just before the Lori-Ann filing. I stopped following the lawsuit because it was getting ridiculous and it was taking over people's lives, and I'm not into that. This internet stuff is not that serious to me. So, you know, a lot of what I'm saying is from what I can recall. So if I'm incorrect, please correct me. I'm not going to be upset. I'm not going to delete you. I'm not going to be offended. Please let me know if I'm wrong. Yeah, I think everybody should give LB the credit for trying. I don't think it's her fault that it wasn't successful. And I don't mean that now. That's my opinion. I don't believe this interview was successful for a number of reasons, but I don't think that it's necessarily LB's fault. Anybody who has any kind of platform, at some point you want to grow. And she has talked about how she kind of was hitting a rough point, and something like this could very well help her. And that shouldn't be viewed as a bad thing. And honestly, I don't think it should be held against any creator. I have seen other creators who have talked about this and how they were personally included and involved in this, and that they would have taken the opportunity to interview Lori-Ann. I've seen almost anybody who's actually talked about the interview be able to say, like, although I didn't like how it went or whatever, and try to dispel things, they still said, you know, they don't fault LB, and nobody really should fault LB. Like, she was doing what she thought was best and what would help her channel, and that's not a bad thing. Her channel is her income. That's her job. That's her business. People, I mean, it's kind of the name of the game in some places. So I don't think it's fair that people are giving her a hard time about doing the interview. I have my own opinions about how it was conducted, and I don't mean that in a nasty way to LB. I just don't think she was fully prepared to handle the kind of individual that Lori-Ann was. I don't think she was really prepared to do the interview from what I see, because there were topics being brought up that LB would say, oh, well, I didn't know about that until yesterday, or I didn't know about that until today. And I don't think that's at her fault. But at the same time, I think a lot of people are frustrated that Lori-Ann got on and continued to lie and continued to get away with things. And part of that kind of does fall on LB, in my personal opinion, because she didn't know all of the ins and outs before doing the interview. I think if she had all the ins and outs ahead of time and was able to challenge her when she was lying or when she was coming out and trying to twist things, LB actually knew how things had gone on, she maybe would have been able to address it the way that people wanted her to. But it's a 50-50. Like, she's kind of, LB was stuck between a rock and a hard place at the end of the day, because even if she had pushed Lori-Ann, it could have shut Lori-Ann down. I don't know what what her interview tactics are. So I'm not trying to judge her. I'm just saying, based off of what I saw and how I've interviewed people, not in relation to social media stuff or anything like this. But, you know, doing work that I have done and interviewing techniques that I have learned are very different from how that interview happened. And that's probably just a professional difference. So I don't want to be too harsh on her, but in reviewing it, I kind of feel she was underprepared, and I don't mean that in a nasty way. I respect LB, I respect any other creator, but I'm also going to tell my opinion, and I don't think she was fully prepared. And I think everybody has come to the consensus that Lori-Ann was getting on there just for the sole fact to get the attention and to try and say that she had the last word. That's also my opinion. I don't think LB really knew how to rein her in. Again, I don't mean that in a nasty way. Just from what I said, I don't think she knew how to rein her in. She said on Twitter that she kept trying to bring her back to the topic. And in review, I can see where she was trying to. She just wasn't stern enough. She didn't really have, she wasn't stern enough, and I don't think she was prepared for her to be as deceptive as she was. So let's continue on with these tweets. I just wanted to come to you guys for a minute, so I won't see the chat for a little bit. All right, so this is where she starts to say that Business Insider reached out to her and told her that Michael Saltz had told them to watch Emily's channel. Michael Saltz has since released several DMs in relation to the interview that LB had on her channel with Lori Ann to set the record straight, as well as he has responded to some of these tweets that Katie has put out, showing that yes, the Business Insider did reach out to him, but it wasn't in regards to her lawsuit like she wants to put it out there. It was in regards to the lawsuit the Westbrooks are involved in with their brand and the co-owner of the brand. So then we have this series of tweets where it says this email is supposedly Craig Swanson, which he is the co-partner to the lawsuit about the business and stuff like that. They are demanding I hand over evidence about Craig Swanson and Clark Swanson. Okay, I got the two confused. That I have gave to Natalie. I have no recordings, texts, or emails, nor have I ever spoken to Natalie. I'm not going to repeat that. You guys can read that sentence. Again, why is she putting this out? Like, that's the biggest question I have here. What good does this do? What good does this do except for her to say, all of these people are saying that they got threats and stuff, but so did I. Don't forget I did too. Like, that's very much what this looks like to me. And it's on the heels of this interview. So to me, this is Katie's being able to stay relevant. And I do mean that nasty, actually. She is trying her best to remain relevant because her channel is continuing to gain success and gain new viewers because people are continuing to talk about it. You can acknowledge the hypocrisy in that I continue to talk about her. Trust me, I understand, I get it. But when someone is as problematic as someone like Katie Joy, I don't care if people go view her channel. I don't care if it gives her a little bit of AdSense. What I care about is that people are at least willing to hear me out and see these patterns of behavior. So whenever they are watching her channel, they will be able to pick up on the cues that myself and other people who criticize her and critique her commentary are able to pick up on it and leave before they end up hurt, like so many people in this community have been. She said that she got emails like this. I'm not going to open this because I could care. Again, I don't see the point in sharing it, especially if it has stuff like this last little sentence. I don't understand. I don't have this kind of immature mindset. And I don't mean that negative to anyone else in the community who has talked about getting death threats and stuff like that. But to me, it's feeding into it, and it is breeding a lot of immaturity, which I think is what has been a contributing factor to why so much drama happens around other channels who talk about Katie. She said she's received thousands by someone using a fake email, which again, everybody who's been a main key point has talked about this. She's saying that she's received fake emails from Michael Saltz and her Natalie and her attorney, and even herself, and that they're having this kind of context. I understand her feeling like now she has the ability to be like me too, because when all of this was happening, she very much wasn't talking about this stuff. But now that the case is dismissed, people are still talking about it. The Lori Ann interview happened, kind of resurfacing a lot of this stuff. because Lori Ann did threaten people. Lori Ann did engage in very disgusting, nasty behavior online that is documented, despite if she wants to lie about it. I think it's kind of resurged for Katie to want to now say, like, me too. This stuff was happening to me too, and I just chose not to talk about it then, but I'm going to talk about it now. Which I don't think does her any good, to be honest. She goes on to say, of course, they'll deny that they had any relationship. This is super freaking manipulative kind of verbiage. Just saying. Trying to call the moves that they're going to make. This is what a liar does in real life. A liar in real life will come to you after they have started a lie. They will come to you and already start putting into your mind doubt and questioning whatever lie that they have started so that they can go under the radar with their lies. Because you are constantly questioning the other person or the other people because they have implanted this thought in your head. And you're like, well, it's a possibility. So this is super freaking manipulative to say that they're going to deny they had any relationship. I mean, whatever. So she says that they're going to deny they had a relationship or the exchange of info wasn't about me. What didn't change is Salt's repeatedly promoting Emily, tweeting at each other, and Emily laughing at my Twitter meltdowns due to an immense stress and harassment I was experiencing. I don't remember Emily laughing at your Twitter meltdowns. I remember Emily. I remember Emily laughing at you threatening her in your Twitter meltdowns. And that was your choice as a grown woman to get on your Twitter and be nasty to another grown woman, to demean her education, to make her seem like she is less than you, to threaten her multiple times with her profession and with her coverage of a lawsuit. She was laughing at the fact that you were making fun of her because your claims when you were made zero sense. And a lot of people were laughing at the fact that you were making claims like that. It wasn't that you were in a meltdown. People had concerns about your meltdown. And when people called law enforcement because people had concerns about your meltdown, you demonized them on your platform because that makes 100% sense. She goes on to say she also seemed to make mountains out of molehills while dismissing huge issues on the other side. So she's trying to say here that Emily made issues that weren't really issues in the lawsuit, and that things that were bigger issues to Katie, she didn't discuss. I mean, to be quite honest, there was a point, and I mean, this is me being 100% transparent with you. Whenever Emily was covering the lawsuit, once Katie started to go for Emily and like her education and stuff like that, I did see Emily kind of become a little bit shady when she would talk about the lawsuit. She would just throw little subtle shade. It wasn't anything serious. It wasn't anything most people would even catch on to. It was just little like silly jabs. And if Katie wanted to take it that seriously, then Katie shouldn't have been watching her videos. Isn't that what Katie says to everybody else? If you don't like me, don't watch me. I mean, come on. That goes both ways. And for the most part, Emily's coverage was pretty unbiased. She was just reading the lawsuit and saying what could happen from what was being said. Just because she didn't cover it in your favor at all times doesn't mean she was being biased. It doesn't mean that she was out to get you. But we are all human, and I think that's why at times I would see Emily make a little kind of jab here and there. But I mean, we're people, you know? She goes on to say, even now, anything I say, even if I have evidence, won't be believed. That's because, Katie, you have been proven to kind of lie about stuff and falsify stuff or twist stuff. I mean, people aren't going to just flat out believe you because you have led people to question your credibility and your integrity. That's nobody's fault but your own. And then she goes on to say everyone else can receive threats, but not me. And that she received one, it's fake. If I address anything, I'm sad fishing and lying when others haven't stopped talking about the false declarations. So I'm not saying that she's sad fishing. I just find the timing of all of this to be interesting after Lori Ann, who was a huge part of the lawsuit, doing an interview on a channel that Katie clearly doesn't really enjoy, for all of this stuff to start being said. People don't believe her because she's kind of led that reputation for people to not believe what she says without proof. So I've not once thought that she wasn't getting threats like everybody else. But again, I don't think it does anybody any good to talk about getting threats on their social media. And that's all parties who have done that. I don't think it's helped anything. I think it has exacerbated it to some degree. Then she says earlier this week she was accused of being a hacker because of her silence. Where? Honestly, I'm going to come back to the chat because that really is a question of mine. Where has anybody threatened that she was the hacker? I've seen people have the thought process that maybe she's been behind some of it. And I'm pretty sure it's proven at this point from what Saltz has said and other people have said. The FBI is involved because it has to do with a hacking farm that somebody paid. Allegedly, that's kind of what the census that I have seen being talked about. But why? I've not seen anybody verbatimly say that she has to be the one that is behind it. There's people who have theories that she's behind it. But even if their theory is that she's behind it, I've not seen anybody from what I can recall say that she's not also receiving threats. And I think this is her way to try and diminish that theory that, hey, if I'm getting threats too, then there's no way that I possibly could have anything to do with this, everyone else getting threats. I very much think that that's kind of what's happening here, is she's trying to show that she's also getting it, so she can't be behind it. And I don't really want to speculate as far as who's behind it, because at this point, Saltz has verbatimly said that it is likely a hacking farm, and that is why the FBI is involved. And if the FBI is involved, why the heck are people still wanting to flaunt it out and about that it's still happening? You're further targeting yourself. Hey, Chicken, thank you for joining, Chicken Cakes. Sorry if I've missed anybody else. I seriously can't see the chat whenever I have the tweets pulled up. So I apologize. So I'm going to go back and we're going to continue to go through. I did see somebody say that there's more tweets. I'll refresh her Twitter page once we get to the top. I've been afraid to refresh it since I opened it because we know that when she does these rampages, oftentimes she deletes them. So we talked about this. She goes on to say, I'm not attacking anyone. I've shared my opinion. Emily shared hers for months. I mean, that was your choice not to say anything about your opinion back then. So don't try and make this Emily's fault that Emily decided to cover the lawsuit that your mouth got you in. This is very much her trying to put the blame on everybody but herself. And she's doing it in a way that will manipulate people who haven't been around this whole time. So she says, I didn't attack anyone, which I remember very distinctly. She went after Creepshow. She doxed Creepshow. She threatened to sue Creepshow along with Dustin Daly. Nick Snyder, called Nick Snyder a meth head. She also threatened Emily with a lawsuit. She threatened to disbar Saltz, I believe. I mean, there was a lot of her like attacking not only people through their YouTube channels, but also in real life in their professions. But she is one of the ones who will always say that she does not condone that kind of behavior, but she openly does it all the time. That's why people don't believe her. She's a walking contradiction. Emily shared for months and you all say she didn't attack her. Again, I don't think Emily attacked her. Do I think Emily threw shade occasionally? Yes. However, if my degree and my lifestyle and everything that I was doing in a professional manner, I would probably get in my feelings a little bit too, which is why I made a very kind of childish video in response to all the lies she did in the live chat she entered of mine. Because I'm a human and it pissed me off. I mean, I'm going to be honest. Yeah, that's exactly how she felt. Okay, so she felt that way, so it's everybody else's fault that her feelings were hurt. Okay. So if I speak about her, it's an attack. No, it's not if you speak about her, it's an attack. It's how you speak about her that makes it very much seem like you are trying to diminish and belittle her and take away her credentials from her. That's why people say you're attacking her, because here we are, how many months later, that you are now wanting to talk about this, which maybe you were told not to during the lawsuit, but you were doing plenty of talking during that time frame. So it just doesn't make sense. Any excuse for this kind of behavior right now is not going to make sense. It's going to be debunked with your further behavior previously. Then she says, threatening to, yeah, I'm not going to read those kinds of words just for trigger purposes. Unless they give you information like emails, recorded calls, or text message, it's called extortion and coercion, and it's a federal crime. Yeah, there's been a lot of talk of a lot of different kinds of federal crimes happening. That's why the FBI has been involved for so long. If you're just now choosing to involve them on your side, that's kind of on you. I don't know if that's true, but you're just now saying that you contacted the FBI, so I don't know if that's in relation to what you're tweeting about. But again, why tweet about this? Why let whoever is potentially behind all of this and what you're receiving be out to the public and out to those people who may be doing it? You are giving them what they want. I talk about this in a recent video just about negativity online. When you feed into the negativity, you are giving those people who were trying to hurt you what they were seeking. Now she says tomorrow she's calling the police. That the FBI report was filed. Okay. Again, I mean, I'm just kind of like, the point of this tweet is what? To let everybody know that you're getting agencies involved, but you're saying that this has been going on for months. Why are you just now reaching out to them? Or are you reaching out to them a second time? I mean, this poses more questions to me than answers. Then she says she loves when people say that no one likes her, yet she has a channel on Instagram that have positive engagement. Her only negative engagement here is on Twitter. I have entered some of her Instagram lives before, and the engagement is not all positive. Half of them are trolling her. Anybody can open an Instagram live and see that. You can open any Twitter with any accounts that kind of are critical of Katie, and you see them posting where they are trolling her intentionally. That's why I've said Katie has trolls. We know she has trolls. I've seen them. We've all seen them. Are they negative to the point that she's saying? No, most of the trolls I see in her Instagram are just trying to make her get off topic. They're trying to push her buttons. And most of them are commenting weird, unrelated, silly things. People can like her. No one said no one likes her. However, she has to be self-aware enough to understand that a large majority of her audience at this point do watch her because they're watching her fall apart, and they're watching her because they're interested in how she's going to handle herself moving forward. And now she goes on Oh, she also says this part, which I thought was interesting, that her only negative engagement is on Twitter. I don't believe that's possible, because look at her engagement on all of these things. 7 hearts, no comments, 1 retweet. I mean, if you go through her Twitter, there's like hardly any engagement here, because she's blocked everybody, and it's a little bit different to block people on other platforms. And dozens of people who have left due to harassment, yeah, that's on both sides. And the fact that you want to sit here and mock that is interesting. It's super interesting behavior. Then she says, that's going to be my response to all the stands that come to me with talking points, which they believe to be true. But when I say anything, I am lying and jealous. Certainly not jealous of anyone, trust me. Yeah, I'm sure she's not, because she is making bank on all of this. So good on her. If that's your intention, is to kind of come off like not the most morals and not the most ethics, and taking advantage of your audience and kind of being a not good person, in my opinion, then congratulations, because your bank account is winning at the end of the day. Good for you. Good for you. Glad that's all you care about. And then she puts out this tweet about there being conflicting reports about DMX and his cause of death. Why? And she goes on to say that TMZ is the only outlet calling it an overdose. Does she know? Was she there? Again, she's just flippantly talking about people who are addicts and in recovery. And it's like, what the hell is your problem? Seriously. And this is a legend that people are seriously mourning his loss. And she wants to question the news reports and his cause of death the day it happens and it's reported. Heartless. That, to me, that says that you're heartless. And then I don't know how this, I think she's just, I don't know. I don't want to put, I don't know. She kind of forgot about Gabby Hanna. I mean, okay, and this is her Twitter. She can tweet out whatever she wants, but this like doesn't go in line with this whole rampage. It's like these last 2 tweets, she was trying to just throw everybody off. And like if she pops up in their feed, that they would see these last 2 tweets and not the rest of it. I don't know. And then not too long ago, she said, good morning to the haters that are mad that she didn't go live and lose it on Instagram or YouTube. Sorry, that's not going to happen this time. At least she's self-aware and noticing that it is a pattern of her behavior, that she just shared what she shared and went to bed. I find this tweet very funny. I don't know if anybody else does, and I know that's a little bit petty of me. And usually I try to remain pretty professional when I talk about this stuff, but this is quite hilarious to me. She just has this tweet pinned. So let's refresh and see what's been updated. So I'm not seeing anything else. You guys are saying that someone is showing other tweets. Let me come back to the chat and see what you guys are saying. To do this, like share my screen and stuff, I get lost. So I'm sorry it's taken me a minute to come back to you guys. What's going on? KJ's blacklist could fill a whole stadium. Probably. I mean, I'm sure it's quite long. What's going on between? Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on in the chat. If you guys are arguing, please don't. I haven't been in the chat, so I don't know. I don't know what's been going on in the chat. So for anybody who's been in here and there's been fighting, I apologize. So I'm not going to spend time with the other 250 people in here to figure out what's going on in my chat. Please be respectful. If you're not being respectful, I will start getting more moderators and people will be, it'll be handled that way. So, okay, apparently it's between MM and Dragon Lion. Please stop. Whatever you guys are engaging in, stop. I don't know what it is. Yeah, I'm not okay with arguing in my chat. I adore both of you guys. You guys have always been in my chats, but I will block you both for the rest of this live if you don't knock it off. I don't know what started it. I'm not trying to figure that out right now. There's 255 people who want to just talk about what's going on, so let's kind of move on. All right, so it's okay, guys. I just see some people who have been here for a while kind of going at each other. I just want to address it. I don't like when that happens. So does anybody know, has Katie been putting out more tweets? Do I need to try and go to my Twitter account to see what else is being said rather than, because I know, yeah, Queen of Spades. So KJ literally wrote a book on Twitter to make herself look innocent. I think she's been not taught. I can't remember if she's talked about any of this while the lawsuit was going on. Yeah, she talked about Emily D. Baker and she talked about Michael Saltz, but she did not really talk about a lot of the hacking and threatening that was going on during the lawsuit. She had before and she has now, clearly, but during that time, I really can't remember her talking about that very much. So I feel now that Lori Ann was given a platform and kind of stirred the community up more, because there's a lot of people who are mad in this community because of that interview, and I can understand why. So it kind of is giving Katie an opportunity almost to come in and be like, try to say some of this other stuff, because people are already kind of up in arms with each other and kind of in their emotions and feelings because of that interview. She replied to someone around 10 tweets this past hour, so look at the reply section. I always forget to go to tweets and replies. Okay, I think I see what you're talking about. Let me. Emily D. Baker talked about exactly what would happen online at the beginning of last night's live. It was brief, but she spoke facts. I didn't catch her live. Is the lives that she does on Friday, aren't those for her members only? I didn't catch it though. It's frustrating. Yeah, I agree, Christy. I kind of talked about that. It is slightly frustrating that the interview didn't go how people wanted it to. So let me go back into StreamYards and share this page. Okay, so here I went to tweets and replies just now. The same one is at the pin, but here we have all of her responses. I guess I should try to scroll from where the responses start, maybe. I don't know if we'll be able to 100% understand what's going on. So here we have, it was brought up because I was accused this last week of hacking by Saltz. I don't remember Saltz ever accusing Katie of hacking. I was accused by the notion that I didn't denounce threats he received. After that happened, I spoke to someone about something else entirely, and they told me about Saltz/EBD connection. I mean, there was never, from my understanding, there was never any shade about the fact that Emily D. Baker could talk to Saltz. I mean, I remember very on when I was still following this lawsuit where Emily D. Baker said that she had a conversation with Saltz. That doesn't mean that there is some kind of weird conspiracy going on. That would be like everybody going to the weird conspiracy of Katie and Unirock when they were friends, and the weird conspiracies that would be talked about during that time frame. I don't know why I will agree that at points I will put on my tin hat theory and like think of conspiracies myself about how things are happening, but this whole narrative of this is all for clicks and views and that's why this lawsuit even happened. I mean, none of that to me makes any sense. I mean, I'm just going to say that now. That conspiracy theory to me has like zero credibility in my opinion, because Saltz is an attorney. The Westbrooks and Halo did pay him to do this lawsuit, and at the end of the day, who would have been in it to gain? Tati's not been loading on YouTube since before this. So I can't understand that conspiracy theory at all. She goes on to say, given that I received this information I shared, the tension around me never dies down. Leslie literally interviewed Lori 2 nights ago, which is again why I brought up so my conspiracy that I was saying why I thought she was maybe even tweeting all of this stuff was because of the interview, and clearly she is stating here now that is why she went on this Twitter rampage. Why she brought up the false declarations and slander. But what does that have to do with, I mean, that's perjury on Lori Ann's part. That's Saltz could only do as much as he can to research to see that what Lori Ann was saying was factual and have gone over everything. And what connection does that have to Emily? Other than she talked about the lawsuit? Like, I don't understand. She then goes on to say, I will forget about it when people stop interviewing people involved. We had multiple outlets request interviews, even Business Insider, we declined. That was your choice to decline. You can't put it on other people because other people who are involved want to talk about it. That's your own fault. You chose not to talk about it. You chose not for this to be ended up in mainstream media, according to you. So don't bitch. Sorry, this kind of stuff aggravates me because it's showing her double standard here. And she's just trying to take a blow at LB because they have their own petty, ridiculous stuff that has happened in the past. So, I mean, she can't get pissed off that Lori Ann talked to LB. Everybody is pissed off from what I can tell about what Lori Ann said during that interview. So I don't know. And then what Saltz showed was that business, never mind. That's a totally different. She goes on to say, Lori admitted in her interview with, I'm going to call her LB because that's what she prefers to be referred to as, interview with LB, that she lied. People need to stop giving people like Lori and Nat platforms. Natalie has a history. Natalie is a very touchy subject for a lot of people, and I have tried my best to not talk about Natalie publicly. And what I would advise anyone, and I mean anyone, who wants to talk about her, what her actual diagnoses are and how that manifests in somebody, educate yourself, Learn about it before you want to go and blast them online. That's all I'm going to say about that. And Katie, people think that people, myself included, I will go ahead and put this out there right now. I think Katie is dangerous to have a platform. Look at all of the people that she hurts on a daily basis, myself included. She has not intentionally, but she has hurt me in a community that I am involved in. She has hurt multiple other communities almost daily. She is affecting and hurting and providing misinformation about communities. Her stuff on the Duggars and the Sister Wives, I don't know anything about that religion. But I've had people come out to me and tell me that some of the stuff she says is totally inaccurate and that it has affected their communities. Does she get her rocks off on hurting people? Because that's what it's looking like. So you want to sit here and you want to say that these other two individuals shouldn't be given a platform, but you can sit on your platform every freaking day and do whatever the hell you want? Who made you the gatekeeper of who can talk and who can't talk? Answer that for me. Who made you the gatekeeper? Because it's very much what you're coming off as here, that these two ladies can't talk. Let them talk. Lori-Ann made an ass of herself. I don't know why you're so pissed off that Lori-Ann talked, because it made everybody realize that she is unwell and that she is going to do nothing but continue to lie and manipulate and throw flames up everybody's behinds. I don't know why Katie's mad about that. Honestly, it makes zero sense. It's the freaking double standards that these people online have for everybody, and the hypocrisy is just way too freaking much for me sometimes. I'm sorry, I'm getting a little bit frustrated and I'm kind of yelling a little bit more than I usually do, but it's the freaking double standards here. It's the double standard everywhere in this community, online, on YouTube, in Twitter. It is so frustrating. It is so frustrating to deal with and to navigate. So you're not, if you're somewhere neutral, you're trying your best to remain neutral because it does no good. You know it does no good to get involved. But there's stuff like this where you just kind of have to talk about where you're at and where you're sitting with stuff, because I mean, the double standard in that comment alone. And also, why is she choosing, like, I just don't even understand these kinds of, like, back and forths. I just don't. She says that someone, again, talking about Natalie, like I said, she's going to continue, everybody's going to continue to go in on Natalie. And what I will say, do your fucking research, guys. Do your research, because you really do look like an a-hole to me if you don't know what it is that she struggles with and you want to blast her on any and all social media. I don't care if that makes people mad at me. I don't care. I know what the diagnosis is. I know what it's like, not because I have it, but because I've educated myself about it. I've had to through my education. I've had through since in dealing with the communities that I have dealt with both previously and currently. And people kind of look like morons when you don't educate yourself about stuff. And then the stuff that you try to hold against this individual can be explained by their diagnoses. You kind of look like an ass. Just saying. So, and then she goes on to try and say that all that was lies. I mean, that's Katie's, I don't know why she's doing this. And yeah, maybe these witnesses and things like that won't need to be included if they refile, but it also like does her no good other than to like tear everybody else apart. Is this in an effort to make herself look better? Is she trying to like say everything around the lawsuit was fake? I mean, we already know that she doesn't believe the lawsuit. Clearly, she doesn't believe that the lawsuit even needed to be filed. Wait, I'll be right back. My husband just got home and my house is locked. Sorry. I had the doors locked, so. What else do these other messages say? I mean, she's just trying to, at this point, like even in how she's responding, you guys can see it. She's clearly just trying to discredit everybody and anything else but herself. It's like she's trying to convince everybody that everything that's happened the last few months was all BS. Let's see if there's any, you guys can read these. At this point, what she's saying is she's just trying to discredit the witnesses. Talking about this business insider that reached out to them, but Salt has provided on his Instagram where the business insider reached out to him, and the person that Katie tried to claim from Business Insider reached out to her, which was Kat or Kate, I think she goes by Kat, who's the one who's kind of put out into Business Insider inappropriate dealings with other large creators like Jeffree Star, James Charles, stuff like that. Thank you so much, Cindy Lou, for the donation, the super chat. You didn't have to do that. I appreciate it. But she has come out and said that she did not talk to Katie. Even though that's the person Katie wanted to push that she had talked to, she has since come out and said, no, Truth Sleuth actually reached out to her and put on Truth Sleuth's Twitter that she did not talk to Katie and that she intentionally chose to not cover this lawsuit because it was all over the place. So I'm sure if I refresh this, there's going to be even more. Let's see. Where's my refresh button? It doesn't look like it. So maybe she's taking a break from her Twitter for right now. So that's the tweets, kind of real-time tweets. So if you're blocked or you just don't care enough to go look, that's kind of what's been going on. Thank you so much, Aussie Trisha, for the super sticker. I'm trying to get to the live chat. So, yeah, I mean, it's just, she's on a rampage on Twitter. And I mean, my thought was it was in response to the interview, and clearly that's what I'm already blocked on my main page. If she goes out and finds my craft channel and blocks it, that's fine. I don't care. I really don't care to go through her tweets that often. I usually don't. This is actually the first live stream I've ever held where I've gone through her Twitters. I know there's other creators who do that, and I don't, they do it, so why should I? But it's Saturday. Not a lot of people go live on Saturday. 1, 2, I felt kind of bad because I have slacked off on having any content ready for you guys the last 2 days. So I figured this would be a good way to make it up to you. 3, I didn't know if people wanted to talk about my opinions on the interview, and I knew parts of my opinion would be brought up during talking about these tweets, because as I assumed, it did have to, a lot of it was in response to said interview. So, what do you guys think? I mean, what do you think is going on in Katie's head right now? I really think she's doing this in a response because people are going to be going back and looking and like trying to piece all of this together. So they're likely to be going to her channel and her Twitter and stuff like that. I think part of it is she feels that she needs to try and discredit everybody and anyone else aside from herself. You do realize that Katie Joy is coming for everyone in their credibility but her own and her own attorneys. And yeah, of course, she's not going to come for her own credibility or her attorney's credibility. But how is it that absolutely every other individual involved in this, their credibility is non-existent, according to Katie? And I mean, that's anybody who has ever talked about her in relation to this lawsuit. She has discredited a lot of smaller commentary channels along the way. She has discredited and tried to manipulate and use scare tactics on her Twitter and on her live streams to larger creators who were covering her when this all kind of broke. I mean, I feel like it's like her mission right now. Because of the interview, I feel like it is her mission to discredit everybody because Lori-Ann has given the ability for her to do that. Not that a lot of people believe Lori-Ann and what she said, but I think that opened the gates for Katie to think that she can now just discredit everybody because Lori-Ann has discredited herself. Thank you so much for the super sticker, Police Wife Life. Yeah, Salty did write back. I don't think I follow Salts on my crafting channel. Let me go to my actual Twitter and we can see what Salts said. Let me pull up his page before I share my screen. This is really weird for me to try and toggle all of this. I usually don't do this kind of live stream. So sorry if you're new here and this seems all over the place. It's because it is. I'm trying my best. So here we have Michael Salt's Twitter, and I'm sure if you're here, you know who he is, but he's the attorney for the Westbrooks and Halo. So 19 hours ago, he ats Emily and says, just alerted to this, contact me. Emily D. Baker contacted me about the Swanson case. I was said I was not on the case, but ultimately facilitated the letter to the attorneys who are to share with her. Got call from Business Insider asking for someone for same. I told him to watch Emily D. Baker, which was November 7th. And he shows some screenshots here of this is when Katie was saying that, trying to claim that there was some kind of weird conspiracy going on. So this is his response and receipt to that. Then he says, this is the email from Business Insider seeking information on him in regards to the Swanson lawsuit with the Westbrooks, not the WACB, not Katie's case. And he shares the email and blocks out their information, which strictly says they're a reporter who covers beauty. They're working on a Westbrook career, blah, blah, blah. You guys can read it if you don't have Twitter. If you have Twitter, you can go look at his page. So this is just showing that they're interested not in Katie's case, like Katie's trying to make it seem. He kind of says that no press was interested or that they could care less about the Without a Crystal Ball case. And then these are the responses. If you don't have Twitter, I'll go ahead and share this just in case. Since we've kind of talked about the interview where Lori-Ann tried to say that quite a few things about Salts, and he was responding to some of the things that she said. And so this was one of the snippets he showed from their text messages where Lori-Ann is profusely thanking him. And then there's these other ones where it's kind of the same scenario. She's really just thanking him. So if you don't have Twitter, that's kind of what's been going on Twitter since the interview. So Regardless of the reason that KJ may be doing these things, she is inserting herself into situations that are no one else's business to share but their own. KJ is getting dangerous in your opinion. I think KJ is kind of dangerous in a lot of ways, to be honest with you guys. And I don't mean that lightly. And I know that that is a heavy thing to say, but if you watch, like seriously watch her content, whether it's about the Duggars, the Sister Wives, another YouTuber, she's trying to promote a survivor's story. Look at how she actually talks about these things. And if it's ever a community that you know of or you are a part of, actually listen to what she's saying, because a lot of what she actually says in relation to these communities is harmful and it's incorrect. When she talked about the family that she was trying to out was like Micah Stauffer. A lot of misinformation was in that video. A lot of, I know recently, I have to go back and watch, but I've been told recently she outed a survivor and she contradicts herself in saying that they don't want their names to be said. And then she says their name and then like 2 days later retracts the original statement and says, oh no, they gave me permission. I mean, I just can't. And she implores victims to reach out to her and tell them her story. And I will say now to those of you who are watching me, I would encourage you to seek someone else. Because if someone is just reaching out to you and they're wanting your story and they're not offering anything else, because from what we have seen based off of her actions, she does not do follow-up. She does not say how she's helping them. She just says that, oh, they reached out to me to tell their story. This is their story. I wish them the best, and moves on. If someone genuinely cares about you and your story and they're touched by it, they're probably going to try and assist you beyond just being able to air your traumas out to the public. That's just my opinion. Yes, Tutu Queen. I mean, we've had a couple of people go to her. I've seen her report on a few different stories that she claims people have come to her to tell her. And I hope that that is the case, because one of the biggest issues to me is if you're taking somebody's story and they don't want you to tell it and they're telling it to you in confidence, and you use that, whether you say the person's name or you change their names, but you're telling their story for them without their permission, I find a huge red flag in that. That, like, that's not morally, that's not okay. Ethically, that's not okay. Like, you don't behave and things like that. So I'm going to assume she actually has been getting the permission. The problem with that story I was just referring to is she said she got permission from the girlfriend. I question that. Like, I'm not saying the girlfriend didn't reach out to her. That probably did happen, but Katie should have gotten permission from the actual survivor and said that she got permission from him from the jump, not that she got permission from the girlfriend, because that doesn't matter. That's not her trauma. That's not her experience. Yeah, she's his fiance or girlfriend and knows of it because he's felt comfortable enough with her to tell the story, but that's still not her place or Katie's place to air it out to thousands of people. She speculated and said someone's name who was outing her for mental. Yeah, a lot of people are kind of, I mean, the people who question Katie Joy and her tactics and how she operates her channel, a lot of people are kind of over her, and they have been for a while. And that's why there's so many people who are making sure that they talk about the things that they think she does wrong. She called someone out today on her IG and they declined her invite. Yeah, I stopped following her IG because I just couldn't. If I need something from her Instagram, I'm sure I can ask someone in the community and they can get it for me. Yeah, I agree. I don't believe she knows boundaries. You agree she should have gotten permission from the person? Yeah. Ignore her occasionally and she self-implodes without engagement. I mean, and to be honest though, she's still getting engagement. She's still always going to get engagement. Like, that's just the truth, because of the content that she does create does have so many new people. I mean, the majority, yeah, she covers YouTube stuff. She covers like smaller scale stuff, but a large majority of her content and why her channel is known is because she talks about the Duggars and the sister wives. And unless you watch her content regularly, she just kind of reports and gives her opinion, if you want to call it that. But you know, she just kind of talks about what's been going on in their lives, and she kind of says whatever she wants to say. If you don't watch her content regularly and you don't watch her across all platforms, you may not know that, you know, she is covering those stories and those fundy groups because she seriously has issues with them. And if you just pop on one video of hers on the Duggars, you wouldn't really get the automatic idea that Katie hates fundamentalists. Thank you so much, JJ. Can I ask people to view a panel? I won't say it without your permission. I can promote your Twitter, JJ, and they can see your shout out from there. Because I don't know, I think I saw your tweet, but I'm not 100% sure if that's the case or not. She doesn't get anything, and she yeah, I mean, she does, but you have to realize that some people, I don't watch the Sister Wives or the Duggars or anything like that. I don't watch reality TV, and I have before, so I kind of know what reality TV looks like. But if you just click on one random video of her talking about the Duggars, you may not get the intention of what her content is. You may just see it as she's summarizing. Thank you for joining, Stina Marie, that she's summarizing what's been going on in their lives currently. And to be honest, a lot of people don't have all kinds of social medias. And if they do have every form of social media, it doesn't mean that they're necessarily following her on all of those social medias. And I've said since the very beginning of covering Katie, she behaves very differently on each of her social medias. She portrays herself very differently on her YouTube channel than what she does on her IG to what she does on her Twitter. It's very much a different people. Hey, Frank, I'm just about done, to be honest. Yeah, KJ is hurting people. And I'm going to say this in closing. One of my closing things is a lot of people lately, and this is just me projecting here, okay? So if you say this saying, maybe hearing from my perspective, you may not say it anymore, or you may think of a different one. I really have seen a lot of people using the saying and the excuse for some of this behavior is that hurt people hurt people. Please don't say that. The reason I say that is I'm a hurt person. I've been hurt since I was a child because I've gone through trauma. And yeah, I have worked through it. And I think I'm a pretty good person. You know, I try my best to have a platform to help people. But I am a hurt person. So it really upsets me more than it probably should when I see other creators or people using that hurt people, because that's not always the case. Some people aren't hurt. Some people are struggling and they may have issues, but that's not a reason for them to hurt other people. It's because they haven't healed, but that's not fair to put on all hurt people, because in my opinion, unless you're a child, you've been hurt to some degree in your life. So it's like someone is saying that you're hurting people, and you may not be hurting people. And that, I don't like that saying. I understand where it comes from fundamentally. I can get it, because if you haven't worked through it, if you haven't healed yourself from it or come to terms with it, yeah, sometimes people who have gone through some real rough times in their life, they haven't worked through it, they project that onto others. So I see where the saying is coming from, but I don't think it's fair. And that's just me saying to the few people who are here, if it's a saying that you've said before, maybe try and find a different one just for me, because it does kind of hurt my feelings, and it is something that I do kind of take personally when I see other creators and even people in comment sections just saying, oh, well, you know, the saying goes, hurt people, because I don't like that. I'm a hurt person. I'm very damaged. I am. A lot of people are. And I'm okay with that because I've worked through it. I've learned how to cope a lot better. I've learned how to, you know, work through things. But it's not to say that, I don't know. At the end of the day, it just kind of upsets me when people use that saying, because I don't think that they view it the same way that I do, and that's kind of why I just wanted to give my opinion on that. But I am going to start wrapping up this live stream. I appreciate everybody who's been here. Anyone who super chatted me, thank you so much. If you've PayPal'd me, thank you so much. I don't check that stuff while I'm live, so I don't know. If there's anybody I missed who joined membership or who maybe super chatted while I didn't have the chat up, thank you so much. I appreciate all of you guys. Any subscribers that have maybe started to be on this channel recently, you guys are all appreciated so much. You mean a lot to me, and I do have some content that I think everybody will enjoy, no matter what kind of content of mine you prefer to watch. I have some Katie content, and I have some nail content, other kind of content coming up. But I am going to hop off of here for today. It's been wonderful to sit down on a day I don't typically go live and talk with you guys. I will see you guys on Monday for open discussion. If you haven't checked out the community tab, check it out to make sure you weigh in on what conversation you want to have. But with all of that being said, I hope you guys have a good day, evening, or night, wherever you are. And if you're interested in my craft channel, it should be linked below. I will be going live later this evening doing some crafts. Bye, guys.